Looking at some vacation destinations, for the spring. Tuvalu, Jesse, Bradley, anyone ever heard of this place? Small island nation in the Pacific, composed of several low-lying coral atolls. About 11,000 people live there. The reason I mention it is because their GDP, according to Google, is about $12 million less per year than Kurt Signetti is now guaranteed on his new deal with Indiana. As of this afternoon, Coach Sig, 8-year extension, 11.6 mil per year on average, all 93 million of those dollars guaranteed. If you got it, spend it. Just spend it on the right guy. Please spend it on the right guy. We're jam-packed. We're high atop a glowing downtown Nashville, Tennessee on this Thursday, October 16th, the year of our Lord 2025, proudly fueled by Quick Trip. We have got upset alerts on the show tonight. Last week, I can't help but feel partially responsible for some of the upsets that happened. I think we're on the precipice of a real big upset Saturday. Maybe it's a separation Saturday. Maybe it's an implosion Saturday. Volcanic Saturday? Jesse, we haven't even used that term yet this year. Could it be? Could the needle be moving a little bit? What's that on the seismograph? Yeah, the Saturday seismograph. Write it down. TM, trademark, that's ours. We got SEC chaos ahead. I really think the SEC slate this weekend resembles an NFL slate a lot more than any of you realize. Here's what I didn't say. The SEC is the closest thing college football has to the NFL. What I did say is in terms of competitive balance, it may be a lot more up in the air than we're used to admitting. New commissioner's poll tonight. Cole Cubelic, allegedly, on the show tonight. He sounded a little bit cranky on the Tuesday date night pod this week. I don't know what's wrong with him. We'll talk about it. Oh, and by the way, Hugh Freeze feeling the heat at Auburn. We'll talk about that with Cole as well. Roanoke, Virginia is tuned in. Thank you, guys. Liberty Hill, Texas. Huntsville, Alabama. Pullman, Washington. Saw someone from Croatia tuned in as well. Couldn't pronounce the name of the town, though. Subscribe to the channel. Tons and tons of you have. We are pacing to hit 500,000 subs before Thanksgiving, which means we got like a month and change to decide what we're going to do. I'll shave my head. I will be as bold as Will Compton. I will shave my head when we get to 500K, unless you guys come up with something better. And also, Friday Night Lions tomorrow night. As you know, I'm going to be in Nashville. We're going to the Vanderbilt game Saturday. And so I don't have to travel. So I do have late softball games. That begs the question, what time is Friday Night Lions going to happen on Instagram Live? The Ramen Noodle Express is chugging merrily along. We're having a winning season. If you've never tuned in to Friday Night Lions, follow me on Instagram at Josh Pate CFB. And just wait for me to go live. I'll let you know tomorrow what time we're going live. Just pay attention to the old socials there. But yeah, please subscribe to the channel and check. If you think you have, check. Because every time I ask that on the show, I get like 24 people who DM me and said, I'm glad you said that because I thought I was subscribed and I checked and I wasn't. And now I am. Better late than never. Thank you guys so much. Let's dive into the show. I'm going to do upset alerts in just a second. I want to talk to you about something. The SEC could just be about to blow up. Not as a conference. I think the SEC is pretty solid as a conference, but I think the picture, the landscape of the SEC is in a state that college football public in general does not understand. I don't think the college football public or the SEC public has the slightest clue what could be coming this Saturday. So we've got several situations right now. Alabama is thought to be one of, if not the best teams in the league, and they're favored by over a touchdown Saturday. And Texas A&M, they just got through this little stretch of their schedule. Now they only play Arkansas this weekend. And let's talk about the slate, actually. All right, so Tennessee's going to play Bama. Ole Miss is going to play Georgia this Saturday. That line is Georgia -7.5. Bama's favored by 8.5. LSU at Vandy, that's the game that we'll be at. Vandy's favored against LSU by 2.5. For anyone who thinks that's a mirage, hey, that line hadn't moved all week. It's right there right now if you want to bet it. Oklahoma against South Carolina. We'll talk about that in upset alerts later. Oklahoma is a 5.5-point favorite there. It's Cocktober. It's Columbia. Now, it is an early kickoff, but still. Texas A&M's at Arkansas. That's the kind of game where in the past you think to yourself, all right, make sure you get out of there healthy. The line's 7.5, guys. Make sure you get out of there with a win, and then make sure you're healthy. Texas at Kentucky's another one. Texas at Kentucky in a previous lifetime would have been a 20-plus point spread. The spread's 12.5. So I'm looking at this slate this weekend, and in the Big Ten, they have something happening. It's called separation. And it's very clear the difference between your Ohio States and your Indianas versus your Illinois or whoever, Nebraska, someone like, and then Oregon's kind of floating in the middle right now. We still got to figure out what they are. But there's separation. In the SEC, we kind of sort of have it, but I don't think if I polled the audience, many people think that Ole Miss is going to remain undefeated. Maybe they will. Maybe Ole Miss is part of the separation, but they're in the top of the league. I just think we have a potential volcanic Saturday coming because there's so many of these games that are well within reach. There's so many of these games that are well within the realm of believability that the upset could happen. We could stack upsets on Saturday. It could be an upset stacking Saturday. And even if it's not this Saturday, we still have half the conference slate to go or more, depending on which team you're talking about. I think we either got one of two things happening in the SEC right now. Either separation will happen and we'll have 4 or 5 teams that differentiate themselves from the pack and they're all very clear playoff teams. Or what's more likely to me mathematically is it just ends up looking like the NFL. Any given Saturday looks like the NFL. Like to me, this weekend slate, this Saturday slate in the SEC almost resembles an NFL slate. What I mean by that is in the NFL, they've said any given Sunday forever in the NFL because any given Sunday, with very few exceptions, there aren't many results that would just completely and utterly stun you. In college football, it's pretty stunning sometimes when these results happen. That's only because I think we're still applying 2015 logic to the 2025 game. Someone the caliber of Texas versus someone the caliber of Kentucky in 2015 would have been favored by 3 touchdowns or more, and it's a go in there, get out healthy kind of game. This could be a dogfight. We're going to talk about the game later in Upset Alerts. A&M, sitting there undefeated. A&M's a top 5 team in the AP poll and the commissioner's poll, and they're going to Arkansas, where they've already fired their coach. And Texas A&M's coming off a really convincing, solid win against Florida. They're pretty healthy. Everything seems to be rolling. The line's 7.5. This is it's a 1-possession point spread. Bobby Petrino, one of the better offenses that's clicking in the country right now. They took Tennessee to the wire last week. My point there is Arkansas's a bad team. Texas A&M is viewed as 1A, 1B, one of the best teams in the conference. And it could just that easily, boom, just that easily, it could happen Saturday. My point there is that is not the state of these other conferences. That's not the state of the Big Ten, which is the comparison. That's the apple to the SEC's orange. That is not the case there. And so what does it mean this Saturday? It means you could be entertained this Saturday. What does it mean down the road is what I'm more interested in, because we're going to get to a place where if you've got separation, okay, all's well, and it'll be very clear who's supposed to make the playoff, and it'll be very clear who's going to Atlanta. Actually, it may not be clear who's going to Atlanta, but it will be pretty clear who's going to make the playoff. But if not, if we have the more likely scenario to me, and we've said this, remember, since SEC Media Days, I have said the more likely scenario is just a jumbled mess in the SEC where there's no elite team, there's no 2 or 3 that rise up above the rest of the pack, and it's just a bunch of 2 and 3 loss carnage. If that happens, the 2-loss teams probably make it. I'm very interested in how many playoff caliber teams the SEC has to offer. And then the whole power rating versus merit-based ranking thing comes into play. The Big Ten's just not dealing with this right now, and I don't think they're going to. I think Oregon's still a really good team. They'll separate. Ohio State has long since separated from the country, actually, as well as the Big Ten. Indiana's absolutely there as well. What I do wonder in the Big Ten, their version of this would be, I have no idea how Wisconsin would push Ohio State. We're not even putting it in upset alerts this weekend. That's how little respect I have for the upset potential there. But like if Washington were to go beat Michigan, yeah, it would be an upset. Michigan's not thought of to be in the lead pack. Washington would all of a sudden emerge as a team to take seriously in the Big Ten title race. Also, what if USC goes and beats Notre Dame? It's not a conference game. But if USC beats Notre Dame, everyone takes them a lot more seriously. And I just think about those 2 results. If those 2 results were to happen this weekend, USC beats Notre Dame and Washington beats Michigan, think about what Oregon's schedule all of a sudden looks like. Oregon, right now you're thinking to yourself, all right, they've got a loss against Indiana. They just got to take care of business the rest of the way. They already got over the Penn State hump, and they'll be a 1-loss team. and they'll be in Big Ten title consideration, but they'll go to the playoff. Well, they got to play Southern Cal and Washington back-to-back to end the regular season. So that could radically change. Like the landscape of the Oregon schedule could radically change this weekend. And I know Lanning wants to talk about Rutgers, but we're not talking about the Rutgers game on this show. Again, all due respect, immense amounts of respect there. So as we start to get into this weekend, I just want to prepare you because it could be a very uncomfortable Saturday in the South with teams doing what they're not supposed to do and what history says is not supposed to be able to happen, and it just could really, really become muddy in the SEC. But not when it comes to where you should fuel up. Quick Trip's got you covered. Quick Trip has you fueled. In a show of solidarity to Quick Trip, I live in Nashville. Our Fall Don't Lie Tour game of the week this Saturday is in Nashville. We're going right down the road to LSU versus Vanderbilt, but I have vowed to drive. I could walk, but I'm going to drive. I'm going to use like 1/100th of a gallon of fuel because it's Quick Trip fuel, and frankly, because Barton Simmons got me a really good parking pass. And because of those two things, but Barton doesn't sponsor the show because it would be unethical. Quick Trip does. I appreciate both, though. We're gonna drive to the game, and we'll be there. I have it on good authority that one Will Compton will be there with his wife and his little freight, who a onesie may be en route for. And so it's going to be a hoomst. Nakos is going to the game, Jesse. Did you know that? Pete Nakos? Actually out amongst the people instead of breaking news left and right. So it's the place to be. Imagine not being in Nashville, Tennessee Saturday. Couldn't imagine it, especially couldn't imagine it without Quick Trip. So we appreciate them. Let's move on. Okay. The main event of every Thursday show is the upset alert meter. And last week it was pinging, but this week it's really spiking. We got several games. The lowest upset alert concern I have out of these 6 games is a 5. This is presented by Flex Power. They generated some upset alerts last week. They could generate a ton of them this week. Our friends at Flex Power know how upsets work, and they know to keep you from being upset, ironically, by giving you generators. More on that this weekend. Oklahoma at South Carolina. The line's 5.5. OU favored by 5.5. Now, this is the rare DDS, the double desperation spot. South Carolina just lost. Backs against the wall at home in October. Dangerous combination. And Oklahoma just got stuffed by Texas, and now they got to go right back on the road. They were in Dallas last week. They go to Columbia this week. South Carolina is in the 100s in virtually every offensive category. The trial period is over. Some of the rumors we heard out of fall camp have not come to fruition. It's not an underrated offense. They're just not good. It's Lenora Sellers and sometimes Nick Harbor. It's not great. Fortunately for them, Oklahoma can't really run the ball. So South Carolina got beat, 20-10 last week. It's on Sellers this week, as it always is. And for Oklahoma, it's on Mateer. But I'm thinking if I'm South Carolina, all right, I got my home crowd. They're always good to get me one upset win per year. I just need to scratch out 20 points here. If I can scratch out 20 points, if I can do what LSU did to me last week, scratch out 20, let's take our odds there. Let's take our shot. Texas held them to 6 last week. Mateer was careless with the ball. Maybe he is again this week. You just got to flip last week's game script. Yeah, I'm worried about this game for Oklahoma. I have been all week. So I'm going to go an 8 on the upset alert concern meter. October, despite what Grok says, is a dangerous, dangerous thing. I trust Shane Beamer more than I trust AI in the month of October. Do not embarrass me. Next up, Texas A&M, favored by 7.5 points at Arkansas. Let's ask if we believe a few things here. Do we believe A&M is going wire to wire undefeated? I'm not asking my TexAgs crowd, who has bought and paid for me, by the way, I'm told. I'm not asking you guys. I'm asking the general college football public, do you think A&M is going to go undefeated? Most people's answer is no. You don't think anyone's going undefeated. Well, okay, if they're not, then where are the losses? Plural, or maybe singular. Where's the loss? Could be where you least suspect it. Do we believe Arkansas pushed Tennessee to the limit last week? You should. They did. I was over on VolQuest lurking around. I wasn't lurking. I actually replied to a few people who were slandering me. And they were They were talking about some Tennessee. Oh, we picked Bama to beat Tennessee. Like, imagine the audacity, picking a 8.5-point favorite to win a game. Anyway, so they were saying, oh, man, no one cares about his picks. He picked Arkansas to beat us last week. I didn't pick Arkansas to beat you last week. I picked Arkansas to push you to the limit and cover while you won, which is exactly what happened. And that leads us to this week. That's an unnecessary shot at VolQuest. I love VolQuest. Just a couple of people over there. They didn't even tag me either. At least tag me when you slander me. So they're going, they being Texas A&M, pronouns, pal. They're going into Fayetteville. Bobby Petrino needs a signature win because he wants this job really bad. Those guys on that staff want this job really bad. And I don't think the team is tuned out yet. They actually, I'm sure they haven't tuned out yet. So I'm looking at the matchup a little more specifically. We love interim head coaches. We always love betting them because we believe they're undervalued. Texas A&M's offense on third down, 83rd in the country. Arkansas's third. Now, A&M's third down defense is locked down. Arkansas's third down defense is anything but that's over the course of a season. If the upset were to happen, I think third down conversion rate is probably something that we look back on in the box score, and Arkansas heavily tilted their way. Turnovers would help too. Give me a 6.5 on the upset alert concern scale here. And this goes back to the theory that there's a lot of compacted nature in the SEC. There's not a lot of separation. So you're going on the road and you're favored by over a touchdown in someone else's building. That's a pretty big deal. Next up, exact same situation. Texas Tech's favored by 7.5 on the road against Arizona State. Sam Leavitt, quarterback there for the Sun Devils, listed as probable. Now, they could not protect him against Mississippi State. That was on the road, cowbells and all. You are at home here, but Texas Tech comes in with the number 4 pressure rate defense in the country, so I don't expect him to have a whole lot of time to operate. Texas Tech last week ran for 370 against Kansas. It's not a metric system either. Just they ran for 370 yards. It was tough for me because I picked Kansas as my upset alert special. I took them plus 14.5, and then Texas Tech promptly used my words in their own building to make sure it didn't happen. Shame. Hey, Jordan Tyson, could he break out in this game? Texas Tech's good defensively. They are number 41 against the pass. Maybe there's some plays to be had here. Look, if not now, I don't know when Texas Tech's really going to get pushed. So I'm going to say 6. Arizona State, they got to make a stand here. Look at this Texas Tech schedule so far. They've won every game by 24 or more. And now they go to Arizona State. They got a trip to Kansas State in early November. They got Brigham Young at home. Just not a lot of resistance left. This is probably going to be a playoff team. Almost certainly going to be a Big 12 championship team. Give me a 6, though, this weekend. If they get bitten, I think it may be this week, although I'm not picking them to get bitten, lest anyone in the building out there thinks they heard me say otherwise. Utah is at Brigham Young in a game that is now and forever will be known as the Holy War. Holy War. Holy War, Holy War, Holy War. Why am I repeating myself? Nothing's wrong with your podcast. Nothing's wrong with your YouTube feed. No, I just know that there are some campus casuals out there who have already taken the Red River Shootout from us. They took the world's largest outdoor cocktail party from us, and they have tried to take Farmageddon from us, and they're absolutely trying to take the Holy War from us. Why? No real reason. The name of a rivalry game actually doesn't harm anyone. It doesn't actually offend anyone, as the case often is with these sorts of things. It's just the campus casuals, the sweater vests, the high-level mustaches don't really run in real-world circles. So they live in oxygen chambers, and they don't like these sorts of things. They don't like cool nicknames on games. Okay, the word war. Holy War is in the name. We can't have that. Ugh. Yeah, we can, and we always will. So the Holy War, all caps, is being played in Provo, Utah. And Brigham Young is ranked 15th, and Utah's ranked 23rd, and yet the lower-ranked road team is a 3.5-point favorite. If you want to know the difference in power ratings and rankings, that's it right there. So it doesn't matter what the point spread is. It matters what happens on the field. I was just pointing that out. This is a big step up in competition for Brigham Young, obviously. Their best win is either against Arizona last week or Colorado. That doesn't mean they can't win the game. It just means there's a lot they still have left to prove. That's all that means. They leaned on the run big time against Arizona last week, and it got them a win in overtime. Can they throw to win? Can Bear Buckmeyer throw to win if he needs to? Because I trust Devon Dampier a lot more than I trust Bear Buckmeyer at the moment. But this is the kind of game where you just flip that, where you take someone and you hear him say, I don't know if I trust you. And then you just show out. And this is a rivalry game. You only play a few of these your entire career. Some guys never get to start at quarterback in a rivalry game. Utah's already got 3 solid road wins. Now, they're going to walk into an environment that's way different, respectfully, than going to UCLA or going to Wyoming or going to West Virginia. I know that this Saturday. But you know what? I still trust them. So even though the line's only 3.5, I really think they're the better team. And I think they're going to have to weather a storm here. And I'll put a 6 on the upset alert concern scale because it's a 3.5-point spread and it's a rivalry game. I trust Utah. I like that they lost that game early as it relates to this game because they don't have any more room for error. So we'll see how this goes. We'll see. Let me get a 6 on the upset alert concern scale. Next up, Texas at Kentucky. Texas favored by 12.5. Do not do this to me, Texas. Do not do this to me. I hated you, and then I loved you. Now I'm supporting you, and I'm ready to invest sizable portions of my reputation on Texas making a run in the second half of the season. But we can't do that if we get beat in Lexington, can we? We can't do that if we fumble away a win to Mark Stoops and the Kentucky Wildcats. It's a low margin for error game. Yes, you are Texas, but you haven't necessarily played like it offensively. Now, Arch Manning is scaling up his performance. That's a good thing. This is the number 87 run defense in the country you're facing. It's the number 113 pass defense in the country you're facing. You should be able to have success here. Just don't be stupid. Just go get the win and get home. Kentucky should not be able to move the ball on you. There's a lot of shoulds here. Whole lot of shoulds. I've got a 5 on this. I've got a 5. I hope the competitive maturity is there for them to understand that just because we beat Oklahoma doesn't really mean anything as it relates to accomplishing our preseason goals. We have no margin for error. We got to go treat every game like that. That's what happens when you lose early. You lose to Ohio State, okay, a lot of people will. You got beat by Florida, you got no more margin for error. So I'm going to put a 5 on it. Lastly, Louisville at Miami on a Friday night. I have my eye on this one as well. Louisville is a 13.5-point dog at Miami. It's hard to shake the memories of last year. This is a new team. It's a way better team. You don't have to convince me of that if you're a Miami fan. But Virginia Tech did happen last year. Close game. Cal had to come from behind. The Georgia Tech game, we lost. At Syracuse, we lost. Just the consistency and performance, the ability to be mature and take care of your business. That's part 1 of this. Part 2 is this is not merely a make sure we don't beat ourselves and we have nothing to worry about spot. Louisville's not a bad team. This is a bigger test for you than Florida State was. It's just we didn't realize that at the time. Because, see, Louisville's off a bye week as well. And you got Jeff Brom coming off a bye. I think he's the most underrated coach in the country. They will have a plan cooked up here. And for all the talk about the quarterback position here being a little turnover prone, Miller Moss, if you get him on the right night, he's got a 7-4 touchdown to INT ratio right now. So they've had problems with turnovers. If he's on against you, that doesn't matter. So this is really where that secondary gets tested. And I've got it at a 6. It's a 13.5-point spread. Miami should take care of business, but you got to show me the competitive maturity. Find out about those standards. Find out if we're going to get the consistency and performance. I'm putting it at a 6. Academy Sports and Outdoors is there. They are waiting for you. They're well aware you're going to go tailgate this weekend, and they're sitting there thinking to themselves, don't they need equipment? Don't they need chairs? Don't they need grills? Don't they need coolers and canopies and whatnot? And the answer is yes, 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 and yes, Immunity. And Academy Sports and Outdoors has their doors wide open for you. double door there. And they've got selection the likes of which you couldn't even imagine. And they've got academy.com if you can't get there in person. They have supported our show for a long time, a long, long time. So we've been locked arm in arm with them, and you're sitting there with needs, and they're sitting there with what you need at very affordable prices. And if you enjoy the show and you want to support those who support us, there they are, right there on the screen behind me. Academy Sports and Outdoors. We appreciate them. Got the commissioner's poll right quick. Then we got Cubelic. He's waiting at the door. I can feel him, Jesse. No, he's not at the door. Well, not physically, but are you telling me that even digitally you haven't heard from him? Oh, well, we do have a contingency plan, and that is to trash him unmercifully for 30 minutes on air. So our balls are in his court. In the meantime, I got the commissioner's poll hot off the presses. I used Meredith's printer because she already left for the day. So the commissioner's poll, it's generated by Flex Power, and it is a real ranking. This is not the JP poll. These are not power ratings. This is not point spread stuff. This has nothing to do with the model. I could slam the model shut. This is none of the model's business. You will not see Penn State at number 19 in the commissioner's poll. I can assure you of that. What an idiot the model is. So we've got controversy right off the bat here because I've only got Notre Dame at 25. What does this mean? Does it mean I'm a Notre Dame hater? No. It means that I actually care that you win games. They have, I guess if you want to call them good losses, the two best losses in the country this year. That A&M game and the Miami game, they lost by a combined 4 points. I know all that. I know all that. And let me read this out for you right quick. I got Notre Dame 25, Brigham Young 24, Memphis 23, Nebraska 22, Texas 21. I put Texas ahead of them. And I put Texas ahead of them because I just think Texas just got a way better win than Notre Dame has. I care about your wins. That's what I care a lot about if you're comparable, which both of them certainly are. So they beat Oklahoma like they did. I'm going to bump Texas up a little bit. And look, if Notre Dame beats USC this weekend, then they probably vault right back above Texas. But I'm not projecting with Notre Dame. I think a lot of people are projecting with them. They had them top 10 in their preseason poll. They had to drop them down because they lost a couple of games. But at the first sign that it was okay, they vaulted Notre Dame right back up. I think the AP has them at 13. And I think they're doing that because of what they believe Notre Dame will do the rest of the way. Well, if Notre Dame does it, then the commissioner's poll will reflect that. But they haven't done it yet. So it doesn't yet. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Forrest Gump style there. Also, Illinois, I don't have in the top 25. And I know I'm going to hear something about that. So, like, why no Illinois? Why is Notre Dame and Texas in there, two lost teams, but Illinois is not? Well, because you got beat by 50 by somebody. So, yes, you have two losses, which is the same as them, but it's really not. Because they didn't get body bagged by 50 and you did. So that's that. We move on. Cincinnati's at 20. Still ahead of Nebraska. There's more than just head-to-head here when we're this deep in the season. Now, if it's a playoff resume and it comes down to that, head-to-head's going to matter. But at this point, we're far enough away from the game they played in week 1, but still too far away from the playoff rankings where head-to-head is supposed to be like the trump card in a comparable scenario. So I'm going to put Cincinnati at 20 now. Southern Cal, I've got at 19, big game on the road this week. Utah at 18. USF at 17, man. They keep rising. That's my G5 playoff team right now, by the way. And I got Virginia at 16. That was a big win they got against Louisville. It's kind of overlooked. There were other big games. That was a big win. I was very confident in Louisville. Virginia proved me wrong. Let's continue. Missouri's at 15. Dropped them a few spots. Did not drop them a whole lot. Very, very competitive game with Alabama. They're on the road this week against Auburn. That one could be toxic. Not for drink in Missouri, although that could be a second conference loss. But just they could deal a harsh blow to Auburn down there. We will see the number 14 team in the country this weekend at home. We will see the Vanderbilt Commodores. Jesse pointed out something to me. He said, did you notice that the AP rankings have kind of come in line with the commissioner's poll? And I just laughed. That's poor Jesse, poor young, innocent Jesse, like Bambi, just getting his feet on college football's frozen pond. Poor Jesse. Yes, I've noticed that, Jesse. Yes, I've noticed that. We lifted up the AP rock. and we shine the light and that voters scurried all over the place. That's mean. I'm not really comparing AP voters to roaches. I'm not doing that. I am saying that the effect the light has on our friendly roaches under the rock is the same as when you've been turning in garbage AP ballots and then all of a sudden people are really paying attention. It makes you pay a lot more attention. And so it's no mystery that the AP poll has come in line with the commissioner's poll. I think we've done a great service to college football here. Tennessee 13, OU 12, Georgia Tech 11. Georgia Tech playing Duke this weekend. Small favorite or small dog, depending on where you're looking. We look at FanDuel. I just didn't check the line today. Number 10, Oregon. That's where I put Oregon. I got them behind Georgia and LSU, but I still have them fairly high. Some people thought that I should drop them a lot further than 10. Some people said they should be in the 15 to 20 range. I said, why? They said they don't have any good wins. I said, yes, they do. The Penn State win is incredibly good. They said, no, Penn State proved to be terrible. And I said, why did they prove to be terrible? Do we think the Oregon loss may have had something to do with Penn State falling off a cliff? Or, to put it another way, do you really in your right mind think that if Penn State pulled out that game against Oregon in overtime, they still would have gone to UCLA and lost? Do you really think Penn State would have fallen as a 20-plus point favorite 2 weeks in a row had they beaten Oregon? Of course they wouldn't. So Oregon killed Penn State. I'm not punishing Oregon because Penn State looked dead the next 2 weeks. They're the culprit. Okay, they're the number one suspect for why that happened. So Oregon at 10, LSU and Georgia are 9 and 8. All right, I've got Ole Miss 7, Bama 6. I put Bama ahead of Ole Miss because even though Bama's got a loss and Ole Miss doesn't, Bama's still got 3 top 15 wins according to the commissioner's poll. And Ole Miss has got their shot against number 8 this weekend. But Ole Miss has played an inferior schedule so far. I dropped them because they got pushed to the brink at home by Washington State last week. So I don't want to hear any complaints there. You're fortunate to still be undefeated. Number 5, Texas Tech. Incredible team. Texas A&M, number 4. I got Indiana, number 3. Ohio State, 2. Miami, 1. The model would favor Ohio State over the field. They would favor Ohio State by 4. It would favor Ohio State. So that's why Ohio State's number 1 in the JP poll. I think Miami's resume is better so far. So in a merit-based rankings format, I would put Miami 1. We wrestled with whether to put Indiana number 2, and there's a really good case to be made. I was only like 55 to 45, put Ohio State number 2 over Indiana. So that's the commissioner's poll right now. I scheduled the tweet to go out at 6:32, so it just went out 1 minute ago, Jesse. We had a little snafu last week where I scheduled the JP poll to go out way before the segment happened live. So we spoiled our own segments. Terrible. Appreciate Flex Power for generating the commissioner's poll. All right, before we get best bets here and then we get to Cubelic, breaking news. Breaking news from our friends at American Financing. Bradley, pay attention. The Fed finally dropped interest rates. How many segments have we done about the Fed and needing to drop interest rates on the show? Great news for American homeowners. Many of you seeing options in the low 5s now. Not a JP poll number per se. So I would like to invite you, put your hard-earned equity to work. American Financing can help you pay off expensive debt, free up cash flow, and keep your budget under control. They've got consultants saving customers an average, it's worth a paper pop, of $800 a month. You may even be able to delay your next mortgage payment, by the way. So here's the number. American Financing, 866-336-5030. Once again, 866-336-5030, or you can go to americanfinancing.net/Pate. Ramen Noodle Express time, people. Let's do it. I'm already on 4 games. I'm about to add 2 more. So far, we've got Syracuse plus 11.5 against Pitt. We got Mississippi State. I cannot believe they gave us 9.5 earlier in the week. Mississippi State plus 9.5 against Florida. We got Arizona plus 1.5 against Houston. Jesse tells me that number crossed 0 since we bet it. Northern Illinois plus 11.5 at Ohio. All right. This is going to be music to Prez's ears out there in the truck. James Madison. Always love that guy. James Madison plus 1.5. We are taking him against Old Dominion, he and his team. Because that's who took over once Sig left, right? Literal James Madison is coaching over there. And Utah. Yeah, we're putting Utah. Holy War bet here. Utah minus 3.5 at Brigham Young. So that's 6 games on the Ramen Noodle Express. You can go to FanDuel. It's the exclusive odds provider of the show anyway. You can go there, go to the college football tab. You can find the Josh Pate tab. We have our own tab. If you're new or if you're rechecking into the show around here, it's not a fever dream. No drugs involved. They really did give us our own tab. So all the Ramen Noodle Express bets are there. Problem is, if you don't catch the picks when we release them, a lot of times the juice gets way inflated, immunity, I think, because a lot of people have bet them. But they're going to have the line available there for you. So if you miss the show, there's no excuse for that. But if you miss the show, you can check there. Also, you should know, big profit boost this weekend on the Tennessee-Alabama game. You'll see that on FanDuel. Big profit boost. Jesse, do we have an update? We got him. Okay. Well, I had a contingency plan for Cubelic, and the contingency plan was just trash him unmercifully for 30 minutes. But he is going to take his allotted 30 minutes here. How are you? You sounded cranky on the Tuesday Date Night podcast this week, so how are you?
Oh, I was. Yeah, I was, and it's okay. I appreciate that was your takeaway from it. I'm trying to get a tweet out to promote your show here. I know you need support, so I'm just trying to help. The disrespect that you show Kentucky State at Franklin Pierce in a Friday night 6 p.m. matchup from Sodexo Field in Rindge, New Hampshire is blatant, and certain people don't appreciate it. Just want to let you know.
You saw the Lamar East Texas whatever game that was played next to a quick track, right? Not quick trip.
You don't just walk into East Texas whatever.
My goodness.
And think you're going to get a win.
I had folks hitting me up. I mean, the best stray in the world is Scott Van Pelt just giving Quick Trip free plugs because someone's playing a D2 game next to a gas station that's not even the one that actually advertises on the show. We appreciate SVP for that. All right, serious times on the plains.
We've got Moravian at Catholic at 11 a.m.
We're doing this
Saturday morning. They're taking on an entire religion, Josh. Moravian, I need to know the point spread.
It's not even the only game that'll happen in this weekend. That's not even the real Holy War this weekend. If you wonder what is happening right now, this is Friday Night Lines. I sit there dead seriously in a hotel room somewhere, and I'm trying to take live chat questions about real games that people will watch, and I'm looking at what the model thinks, and you're sitting there just feeding me D3 nonsense. People who play D3 are not nonsense. Those are real humans. That's someone's kids. I'm saying those games are not on the board. You know the model does not run Monmouth point spreads, and you toss it to me anyway. So this is like a real-life version of what the live chat is on Friday.
You just told us Merchant Marine at Salve Regina doesn't matter, is what you just said.
Yeah, those humans do not matter. No, that's not what I want to say. I do not want to say that. All right, are you ready? Because we're smiling right now, but there's some serious stuff happening. Okay, serious face. You have the Missouri-Auburn game this weekend, right?
I do.
Rumor is you played at Auburn once upon a time.
People have discounted that based on the fact that I haven't penalty vultured the last 3 weeks, but here we are.
Yeah. And don't love some of your Auburn takes. Need to be a little more all in with us. Can you I don't want you to do it. Can you recite the Auburn Creed?
No,
you can't. Okay, told you. So there's a lot of talk around Hugh Freeze right now. It's a really uncomfortable kind of conversation because I remember back at SEC Media Days, you and I are perched up on the second floor of the College Football Hall of Fame. Hugh Freeze and Auburn come to Atlanta, and he was unlike any other coach that day and that week. He leaned into the expectations. He did what James Franklin did at Penn State, frankly. He leaned into the expectations. He said, to paraphrase him, people should expect us to be a playoff contender. We should be that. We should this, should that. So I appreciated it. It gave us a lot to talk about. But I remember you and I sitting there saying, it's great if it turns out that it's that way there this year. But if it goes sideways, I know him just like I know most coaches, and they're gonna kind of bristle at someone telling them they failed to meet expectations. And that's okay if you never go public with expectations. He went public with expectations. So he kind of put it out there, just like James Franklin in Penn State. This is the best team we've had. It's kind of national title or bust. He put it out there, and it busted. And so I don't know what your feel on this is, but my feel on Auburn is season's far from lost. Like, they could go on a run right now, and they could be right there in the playoff conversation. They could be right there in the SEC championship game conversation. There's just no margin for error. And I think it feels to me like a little, Jenga tower, where there are one or two more cubes that if I remove, it goes crash really quick. And I'm not even totally sure what that looks like, but I think it involves Hugh Freeze's job security. So I'm not sitting here to ask you, hey, man, is he going to lose his job or not? But you do radio in Birmingham every day. You played there. You're really close to the program. Do you think that characterization is fair, unfair? How do you see the situation down there right now?
I don't think we have this much noise if it's just people making it up and people saying things that they want to be true, trying to speak it into existence or hypothesizing about the future would be. Josh, just go look at the record. Number one overall, number two against SEC opponents. Then look at the scoring in the fourth quarter, the yardage and scoring in the second half of games, specifically yardage gains in the fourth quarter. And it continues to sort of slide downhill. And a lot of the reasoning and a lot of the issues and the problems are the same things that Auburn fans heard last year and the year before. And that's where I think people have sort of run into a little bit of a wall here with the hope and maybe the light at the end of the tunnel expectation is that, hold on, we've heard this. And it might be a different player. It could be a different position group, but it's beginning to sound the same. And that's why I think it's wearing thin, not only on a lot of Auburn fans, but some people that have some pull around the program. I struggle to see it truly getting turned around. You speak of being in some sort of an SEC championship race. I would speak more of being bowl eligible, which is interesting because what you said about SEC media days, looking back on it now, I wonder how much of that was in reaction to himself, what he said at the Regions Championship when he referenced, hey, we're trying to get to a bowl game. We're trying to get bowl eligible. Now, for folks like myself and Greg McElroy and other people that looked at it from our perspective, and like Greg made a great point on our show one day. God, I hate giving him so much credit when I come on your show. He did make a great point one day, and he said, and I remember Terry Bowden and Tommy Tuberville standing in front of us before the seasons, and they're like, hey, win the opener, win the division, go to Atlanta, try to play for a championship, be it SEC or national championship. And Greg told us a story about how when they would reach their sixth win every year, Saban made a huge deal about it in the locker room. Like, we're bowl eligible. It was one of our goals for the season. But this falls into the category of low-hanging fruit in which almost everything surrounding Hugh Freeze seems to be right now. Some of that is self-inflicted. I won't even try to pretend that it's not. Certain things that are said and ways that they're said and different ways that they're twisted and repeated, I think some of that is brought on himself. And it allows people to maybe take that avenue and take that path with him. But make no mistake, I'm not saying he's coaching for his job this weekend, but it's being evaluated now. People's antennas are up. People's eyes are open. The thought process has now entered the chat of what potentially would be next and when potentially would we make this move based on how games look and what the outcome of games is. And I think that's the tricky part, Josh, because you've heard me talk about the number thing for years now. Everybody will say before the season, does he have to win 8? Does he have to win 6? Does he have to win 10? I'll never put a number on it because I don't think the perception of what the season was or is going to be brought upon or be able to be told by whatever that number is in the W column. Because you're telling me if he wins 7 and he had to win 8, he's gone, but he beat Alabama and Georgia. That's just not a real thing. So, and that goes for a Florida coach beating Florida State and Georgia, whatever that would be. You beat your rivals. Like, if people said they wanted to get rid of Sark this year and he goes out and wins 1 game less than people thought, but he beats Texas by 20 or Texas A&M by 21 at the end of the year, he's not going anywhere. Like, this is just not a real thing. So I think essentially what we need to take away from the conversation is that people's eyes are now open to it. More attention is being paid to it. And there are probably some real conversations that are being had about it.
I think he's coaching for his job this weekend. I think that's where that stands. I always think it's stupid when you're going game to game evaluating whether someone's good enough to be your head coach. I've always thought that logic is dumb. I think maybe with the Auburn situation, though.
Well, hold on. I hate to interrupt you, though. Do you know the Jeremy Foley quote? I've heard this 100 times, and I can't remember it perfectly. It's like, what must be done tomorrow must be done today, or what we think is going to be done tomorrow must be done today. Whatever it is, it's perfect for this scenario.
Yeah. How about another quote where, if we're firing a guy in mid-October, should we have started the season with him? That's another loosely affiliated quote with what must be done eventually must be done immediately, which is what I've had thrown in my face from Penn State all week. My point there is what I told you either today or yesterday. I can't remember last time I talked to you. Memorable conversation, though. I said, if they lose this weekend, here's what happens. Bradley, do me a favor. Take me full and throw the Auburn schedule up for just a second. If you lose this weekend and everyone behind the scenes decides, all right, it's time, we got to move on, but you don't, what you have is you got 4 games in a row. You could lose 3 of them, but I mean, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vandy is not a murderer's row, although 2 of those 3 are on the road. You leave yourself open to the possibility of him going on a little run there against programs you would view as inferior, whether it's fair or not in this given year. And so I actually think they arrive at that conclusion. If we think we're going to do it eventually, we're going to do it immediately. If we're looking around and maybe Florida moves on Billy and Penn State's already moved on James Franklin, I expect a few more of them to come open, and you've got what you think are studs sitting at places like South Florida or places like Tulane. If you don't get them now, someone else is going to get them. And so I think Penn State really kicked the anthill. And I think Indiana locking up Curt Cignetti really fired up a lot of people today, too. We'll talk about that in a second. But you didn't say it. I'm saying it. Let me be clear about that. I think it's either over or the beginning of the quick end for Hugh if he doesn't win this weekend, which I don't always agree with logic-wise, but I would understand it in this case.
Sure. Let's state it this way. How many teams left on that schedule, including this weekend, from top to bottom are more talented than this Auburn roster? There you go. So that would be one way to equate it and look at it now. Is Missouri a better football team? Absolutely. Is Vanderbilt a better football team? Absolutely. We know Alabama is right now. I haven't seen the tape on Mercer this year yet, so I'll get back to you on that one. But Arkansas, I think, would probably be a coin toss. Honestly, if you're talking about who is the better football team with just how Arkansas has played in certain games this year, I don't know if I would bet my savings account on either one of those teams by saying I believe they'd go out and beat the other in a game if they were facing a neutral site. So Kentucky, I could probably sell you on Auburn being a better football team right now. But yeah, if you go get this one, you're looking at potentially being able to put together a heck of a run. And then what problems have you solved? What ground have you gained at the end of the season? And we start this whole thing over again next year. I can see where people would be in that camp as how they viewed the position.
That's why I appreciate the way A&M, the way they handled Jimbo. Like, go beat Mississippi State convincingly and then great win. Hey, you're fired anyway. That's how they did it. Very
but
interesting.
there are a few things here that we need to take into consideration. You and I have talked a lot about the new world order, so to speak, where we are in college football. Your roster is a real conversation that needs to be had, and people will reference this as trapping kids on the roster or making sure guys can't leave, and they can look at it as some sort of a backdoor move to keep guys from hitting the portal. But that thing opens up for 30 days. Or do you want to go around and have some conversations with some agents? Do you want to have some conversations with some individuals? And obviously not the coaching staff. I don't know what takes. None of us know how this really operates when it comes to when you get rid of a coach, how you get rid of a coach, what actually takes place. And then the other part of that, of course, as always, this is not individual to this situation. It's going to be Jimmy Sexton.
Yeah.
What does he want? Who does he want? How does he want him to go out? Like, all of those things are real. Now, we'll never know exactly how it works or what's going to take place or what took place, but it's a real factor in this, just like it is 100 other coaching hires and fires that are going to take place for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think the college football public, just general fans, would be shocked at how thoroughly powerful people can make stupid ideas possible. And so that's what you always have to be careful of when you're making coaching moves as well. So, Curt Cignetti. I'll wait for Bradley to change the lower because I actually want to clip this for later. Curt Cignetti, as of the last few hours, re-upped with Indiana. 8 years, $11.6 million per year on average. Every dime of it is guaranteed. It's no different than your deal with WJOX. Every dime of it is guaranteed. And so good on SIG. Indiana, like all of a sudden college football powerhouse now. I looked at this and many people said, oh, good for Indiana. It may be good. You may be trashing them in 4 years for locking up so much guaranteed money. I don't know how that's going to turn out. I know in the moment he's a stud, they're rolling, and he's not going to go anywhere. So that's in the immediacy, how it impacts the landscape. But I also thought to myself, all right, what kind of lesson does this teach? First thing is, I think I got 3 of them. First thing is, this is such an indication of how rapidly the landscape has changed. Because it used to really matter what kind of history you had built up, and then what kind of tradition and pageantry, all that stuff, facilities, all that stuff mattered so much. That's why there was this clear hierarchy of what the best jobs were. I know to an extent that still exists. I think that exists way more in the eyes of fans and media than it does the eyes of coaches now. That's the first thing. The second thing, and this is the one that's eating at me right now, is Curt Cignetti was at James Madison in his early 60s. He wasn't like a hotshot up-and-coming coordinator, okay? He's there in his early 60s. He's been a known commodity for a long time. Indiana took a chance on him, and it didn't take a long time. It paid off immediately. He was making $500,000 a year 2 years ago, and now he's making $11.6 million a year. So my point there is, number one, he's rich now. Number two, is he the only one out there for people who have job openings coming up? Is Curt Cignetti just a true unicorn? Or how many other guys that, if they're put in the exact right situation, are sitting there coaching at lower levels of Power 5 or the FCS or G5 right now, that if dropped in a perfect situation would just explode? Because I got to think the number's above 0. It may not be high. And he is a special, special guy. But I got to think there's someone somewhere else out there that there was no spotlight on Sig. When Indiana hired him, it was an afterthought nationally. And I will grant you that. I didn't talk about it. Most people didn't talk about it. Who is that guy? Who are those guys out there? I'm not asking you for a list. I'm saying that's where my mind went. Okay, they just locked him up. Sure. Who's the next guy to pull this off?
I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction with my answer here. 2-part answer. One, he is Indiana's guy. He's Indiana's unicorn. Because as you stated, how many guys are out there that if dropped into that perfect situation, that it would work? We've seen good coaches in certain situations, be it geography, administration, individual player, work or not work, all over the place. The second part would be infinity. I think there are hundreds of thousands of guys out there. Most of them are never going to be found. Some of them are in high school, some of them D3. Where was Kalen DeBoer 8 or 9 years ago? Like how often were we talking about him when he was the head coach at Fresno State? I mean, Indiana made a run with Penix, and he was on that staff, and he got a little bit of a discussion point there, but we weren't talking about him when he was coaching the lower levels of college football. So, and there's going to be certain administrators in certain places that are never going to go get that guy. How many times have we seen the big name, the obvious name, the you have to go get that guy? Hell, Josh, we hear the conversations of, all I know is you got to get somebody with big coaching experience at a big school. It's a big winner. Well, first off, most of those guys aren't leaving. Second off, if they're not winning big, they're gone. They're going to be fired. So how long are we sitting around waiting for a guy to find out if he can win big at a big school? I think there's a ton of guys that could go out there and win if the situation was right, if the timing was right. The timing was right for him because he had guys like Mark Cuban step up and say, how can we help get this right? And that changed everything about the culture and what that place was and what that place was capable of doing. Also, the transfer portal was then available. Whereas when I was at Auburn and Tommy Tuberville came in, he just got the strength coach to go run us every day and hoping guys would quit so he would have more scholarships to go sign more JUCO kids. Not a real advantageous way to accumulate more talent on your football team in a quick manner. So timing is so much of it. The individual matters, yes. Do I think Dan Lanning could go basically anywhere and win? I do. But he also has the ultimate booster behind him that will do anything to help him win. And that's not the reason he wins. But you and I both know there's a lot of places that if you don't jive with the guy that either thinks he's calling the shots or absolutely is calling the shots, it doesn't matter how well you recruit. It doesn't matter how well you X and O or how you scheme or how you motivate or what your culture is. That timing is not going to be right. And that is not going to flow to the point of where you're going to be able to get the talent. You're going to have time to coach them. You're going to be able to get the continuity going. And then you're going to be able to go win games. He also, I mean, you think about the timing with Indiana. They had a little bit of an advantage from a scheduling perspective. Let's be real. Like, how top heavy is the Big Ten the last 2 years? Some really good teams at the top. There's some not so good teams in the middle and at the bottom. That's just part of the timing. It's not the only reason he's winning how he is. It's just, it has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. I also had a buddy yesterday who was talking to me. He's not like some insider or anything, but he watches a lot of college football. He was talking about the Penn State job opening, and then there may be other jobs come open. And, you know, he was throwing around certain names. And so, like, my guy has been Matt Campbell. Anyone asks me who would I go after, I always circle Matt Campbell. Like, I think he'd be a rock star at some of these major jobs. So he said to me, I don't know, man. Campbell feels like his opportunity, his window kind of already passed him by. So I hit him back up today when Curt Cignetti re-upped with Indiana. I said, hey, look at this young guy that Indiana just locked up for the future. And he said, Sig's not young. He's in his 60s. I said, oh, wait, you mean his window hadn't passed him by? You mean 64-year-old and change Curt Cignetti's window hadn't passed him by? Oh, that's interesting. So you could still be the real deal even though you've been around for a long time once you're finally given the right opportunity on the big stage. That's interesting, which is why, like, I look at a guy like Campbell. I don't know how many more there are like him, but Meemaw would call him a guy who's turned pennies into nickels, nickels into dimes for a long time. I listen to these recruiting stories about how down to the wire they're able to take early evaluations and offers that they get, and then they'll land kids, and then the bigger boys will come in and offer them 4X what Iowa State can offer in NIL. But it'll get under the skin of some of these major staffs because they have to fight Iowa State for guys sometimes because they're real good at eval, they're real good at developing. And I just always ask myself, that's just a bona fide football coach. It's a really good staff around him, but more so than anything, it's the mentality. If I ever took that and I just dropped it in the bucket at a major program, I think the same thing about Mike Elko. I think about taking his mentality, his ability to evaluate and develop, drop it in College Station, Texas. What's going to happen? The early returns are very positive. And I always think like what Sig's done, what Mike's doing in College Station, it's exactly what a guy like Matt Campbell would do, I think, at one of these major jobs. Now, I could be wrong about that, but I just always love, oh, well, he stayed at Iowa State a little too long. What in the world are we talking about when we say that?
Why would it matter? I don't understand why that would even be an issue. Let's go back. We hear this about Jason Candle also at Toledo. Well, he's been at Toledo for X amount of years. How do we know he could win somewhere else? I feel like Chris Peterson had the same conversations when he was at Boise. Did he get Washington to the college football playoff? I believe he did. So there have been what we viewed as lifers at multiple stops in multiple conferences at multiple levels of college football that have been able to move on somewhere else and find ways to win. I think it comes back down to your formula. Josh, do you have the formula? Can you help people be better? And can you get the people around you that understand how to help people be better? Better recruiters, better motivators, better leaders, better instructors of the game, which is something that I feel like is way down the rung of importance. And when a lot of people talk about college football this day and age, and actually it should be rising in importance because we're getting new guys in every 6 months that have never met, much less played football next to each other. How quickly can you get those two guys on the same page? Because they're not going to be able to do it going out and throwing 57 balls and 20 out routes and 20 digs and 20 posts every night during the week. You have to understand collectively what we're trying to do. Understand the philosophy of our offense, our defense, and get them to do that together. So if your process, if your formula is one that wins with all those things involved, you're going to be able to win at whatever level that it is of college football. So I've never bought into that. I've never said, oh, that guy's in D3 or that guy's at Jacksonville State or that guy's at Mercer. He can't go win somewhere else. If he's winning there, I almost think that they're more in tune to be able to go win at the higher levels of football when you do have the resources. The only thing that becomes more problematic, in my opinion, there is time management.
Yep.
Because you're being pulled in so many different directions. Trust me, I've had the coaches tell me how much golf they were playing and how many vacations they were taking in lower levels of football compared to where they are now. That is the biggest difference. And to me, that comes down to something you and I've also talked to before, hiring the right people around you to say, get back in the facility. Stop doing that and come do this. Don't say that to the media. And then that's, again, getting the right people around you that can help you be your best.
Did I hear right that you will have your family in the building with you as you work Saturday for the second time?
Ever.
Wow.
Second time ever. Correct. Yes. Yeah, we're all going.
Is it nerve-wracking? Do you feel the jitters a little bit, knowing that they're watching, judging, critiquing like I do when I'm in the same building as you?
There's no way they're watching me. My kids are 10, 8, and 5. They'll be watching Albie, cheerleaders, fireworks, jumbotrons, plural, and finding the next concession item that they want to go get. They are going to sit in regular seats for the first time ever, so I'm excited to see how that goes.
Oh, wow.
Pray for my wife.
Out there in the general population. Huh.
But it's actually, it goes right along with what we've been talking about. It's when I'm doing a game by myself, it's like me coaching in Division II or NAIA. When the entire family comes, that's me jumping to the SEC because it's all about time management at that point. Like, it's logistical, nightmarish, but yes, the logistics of it completely morph into something totally different. So it's actually a good analogy that we use that fits into this weekend, just saying, okay, reservation, extra hotel. Do we have tickets? Do we have a parking pass? Where are we going to be? Here's where I'm going to be at this time, this time, this time, this time, this time. Okay, I'll have an hour for you guys maybe on Friday. Can we hang before the game? Possibly. Do need to work a little bit, though. When are you going to be at the game? It's all that, yeah.
I really hope you're busy Friday night.
It's going to be fun.
All I care about is be busy Friday night. Have no free time Friday night. Do not have any time to watch any Instagram lives. Just go out on the town. Hit tumors. Do whatever.
You can already thank Eli Drinkowitz for me not playing those games with you again because he demanded that we have a Zoom meeting at like 6 p.m. on Friday.
I love it.
We will be busy.
By the way, I was up there last weekend for the Missouri-Bama game. We were in the weight room working out. Drink comes in. He says, come over here for a second. We walk in the sauna and the whirlpool room, which is dark, and he and I are talking, both arms crossed, very serious faces, and one of his staffers walks in and had the most, I just saw something I'm not supposed to see look on his face and ran out, and I wanted to tell the guy, there's nothing happening here. He made me walk into the sauna room. I don't even want to be in here. I don't know why we're in here. We're not even talking about anything all that important. So, yeah, I love him, though. I love him. Big win coming, potentially for him Saturday. All right, plug Cube Show.
Cube Show right here on YouTube. Please go subscribe. Even if you don't care about it and you hate it, just subscribe. Give it a like. Give it a comment. Don't be like the guy that was commenting last week questioning if I even attended a class at Auburn because I don't complain about officiating nonstop.
Oh, yeah, you didn't. You did not jump on that grenade. You avoided it, and shame on you. You had a perfect on-ramp there to get into good graces, and you instead chose to not say that the league office in Birmingham has it out for Auburn University. Why?
Some of us have standards in life, and one of mine from the time that I was a young lad playing middle school football at Homewood Middle chose not to complain about officiating and do what we could do on the field. Like my friend Dana White always says, never let it go to the judges. Same with officiating, Josh. What good is it going to do to complain about a flag? Tell me the good it does other than satisfy your own heart and brain. It does nothing. It does literally zero for anyone, to anyone, by anyone. It doesn't. Just go play.
Actually, it did about 170,000 views. That's what it did. 170,000 views is what it did to complain about flags. Clickbait Pate. That's from Clickbait Pate to you.
About 100,000 more than my not complaining about.
that's until everyone subs. Cube Show, sub. Okay, go eat dinner. I'm going to eat dinner. I'll see you at some point over the next few days.
We got it right. We're already ready. We got it right here. We're going.
Is that Stouffer's or is that the real thing? Yeah, that's the real thing.
No, it's little sliders that the wife made. She brought it in here.
Wow.
Getting that before we head to Auburn.
Even after that Tuesday night spectacle you put on. Good for her. Good for her and good for you. All right. Good night. I'll talk to you later. And that's our show. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel and Cube's. Subscribe to Cube's show. It's a good friend of the program. Let's see what else. Oh, at Josh Pate CFB. Make sure you're following on Instagram. I'll let you guys know tomorrow what time Friday Night Lines is going to be. We'll be on the sideline at Vandy Saturday. Who knows? I am being pressured by Savannah State to attend a second game Saturday. Something about a place she used to work and wanting to see friends. I have no idea. I know I'm going to be at Vandy Saturday, and I could pop up somewhere else. So make sure you're following. All right, let's get out of here. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back Sunday night to recap it all. For producer Jesse, director Bradley, I'm Josh Pate. Take care. Enjoy the games, and God bless.